Well, first of all, I'm stoked that you're starting this because I've always thought that you are very good at listening, right? And then yeah, just there was a thing about you where like you kind of go into a conversation with you, and then you realize that you're talking a lot. Like I'm usually the one that's asking a lot of questions, right? But with
Mm.
you, I end up like kind of sharing what's happening with me like a lot. And like naturally I feel like you have that gift of asking those those
Wow.
questions. And I'm like, yeah, like I've always thought, you should do like something down this alley, like start a podcast or whatnot. But it's good to see you getting started and really doing this.
Yes.
Yeah, and now you got a
Yes.
name as well. So good.
So excited. It's good to see that um to kind of activate what I said that I wanted to do. And now that it's finally
Mm,
break time, 할 수 있는 시간이 있어서 너무 좋은 거.
yeah, 100%, 100%. So you're like on break now, right?
Yeah, aren't you as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, I'm on break. I'm starting like next week as well. So my break is like back to reality.
Oh yeah, that's coming to me as well. Did you get your results today?
Oh yeah, true. I haven't checked it yet. Oh
It
my
came out this
goodness.
morning.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna have to check it afterwards.
Not
Did you?
yet, but
Were you happy with it?
not really. Because I knew that it was
Really?
gonna be not the greatest result, but I did
Yeah.
what I could. I got what I got, but I need to talk with the school faculty because of my next term.
Okay.
But yeah. Are you
So
checking
you
it
got
now?
you go. You know what? I'm for for this. I'll check it now. I'll check
Wow.
it. And I'll reveal what my mark is. But, like just to give some context though, like I need to put myself out here. Like
Wow,
I
yes.
plan to get better as I approach my graduation. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to kind of put that out there because I do really bad with my time. Like
Mm.
my I guess these are all excuses at the end of the day, but I guess trying to balance my business and this study has been a bit difficult.
Mm.
But just goes to show I don't even know where to find. So do you access this through Moodle or my UNSW?
I think it's my UNSW.
My
But
UNSW. Okay.
I'm do you have the school email? Because they send you an email to the school email account.
Yeah, I do have a school email. I do have a school email. Oh no.
What'd you get? What'd you get? What'd you
Oh
get?
no. Oh, this is so embarrassing. You know what? I'll share it. Try
Oh my gosh.
I got 63. It's
What?
literally a pass. Like it says PS. Wow, what? So two more marks and it would have been a credit, right?
Yeah, at least you
Yeah.
passed,
But
right?
yeah, guys, just I try to have excellence in everything that I do, but my academics are something that I has to follow. Yeah, I just want to kind of put it out there, but this is good. I'm enjoying this, like, opening up my academics academic statement in front of, this is going to go public, right? Yeah, and my WAM is 65. Okay, so my WAM is
Ooh.
65. I've done three
Hmm.
subjects. But here's the thing. So please, can I come back on these podcasts, maybe like 2 years later,
Can you
and
come in
then
earlier than 2 years?
okay, let's say 1 year and a half,
Mm.
and then I want to show that there is massive improvement in my
Oh yeah.
academics. Okay, that's what's going to be important, right? This today, look, I passed. That's the most important thing. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it's good.
But isn't it really 힘들어 to like, or are most of all your colleagues all like doing business and studies at the same time? Or is it you're the special case
Yeah.
of running a business and doing MBA at the same time?
So it's quite entrepreneurs. I don't see many entrepreneurs in the MBA program. I see more like working working corporates, like working professionals in the MBA
Mm.
program. The average age is 35 apparently. So I think they've I mean, the criteria is like you need to have at least like 6 years professionally, or like 2 to 3 years in like a managerial field or something like that.
Mm,
So mostly it would be like people working in bigger firms,
mm.
and they're smart. Like seriously, they're smart. Like I'm realizing like how little effort they can put in and still retain information, whereas
Wow.
me, I need to put like and it's basically all my fault. Like I haven't put in the time to actually actively study during my
Mm,
uni years. I was just doing
mm.
like everything else other than studying. So it's been really fun just trying to pick up that habit once again. Like yeah, like for you as well. Like you'd agree with me, right? 공부 like 우리 공부 원래 안
Ooh.
했는데 now we're trying to like do it now.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, but it's a
But I think
slow
yeah.
process.
Yeah, there's grace that follows because being able to be educated at the age of where we're, I don't know, slow with study, I guess, like
Mm,
studies. But I think it's really, really grateful because education and information, you'll always have to learn, you'll always gain so much. But being able to have the privilege to go to uni and learn and really gain information as well as gain experience with the fellow
mm,
colleagues, I guess. 진짜, I
yeah,
think that's really precious.
yeah, 100%. It's like the saying goes, you're basically like a lifelong learner, right? And
Mm.
10 like 10 times a day during my exam period, I literally think about dropping the MBA just because for me, it's more like it's not as valuable to me as it would be to like, for instance, someone in the corporate industry where they can leverage it and
Mm,
then use it to basically get a pay rise, and it can kind of correlate into like immediate results. Whereas for
mm,
me, um, it's more of a long term, I guess. Like, I guess the more valuable thing for me through the MBA is like networking, right? Like meeting
mm.
people,
Yep,
or
yep.
yeah, like the prestige doesn't really matter for me because I'm just doing my own thing anyway, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just I think you kind of wire yourself into thinking like, hey, look, this is like an opportunity, like that doesn't come around,
Mm,
like it comes around once in a while, and you're actually able to study, and that kind of helps with like actually getting through and creating discipline around the study and everything like that. So
yeah.
it's good. I think we kind of started at a similar time frame as well, you and me.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah. So we both next time Peace can also reveal her marks on these.
Next time.
Let's
Next
do it.
time. We're gonna dive in. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome
Mhm.
to the lab where we experiment thoughts and life as we break down and discover our ever growing life as a young adult. Today we have Ryu, who is the CEO of IMI Dance in Sydney, Australia. We had a fair bit of a start, but before we start, Ryu, can you give us a little introduction of who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So my name's Ryu, and I'm a married Christian entrepreneur. So those are probably my top values.
Woohoo.
And I currently run a dance studio called IMI Dance, and turning into entertainment, basically. So
Ooh.
I like to believe that we're in progress to kind of become the first entertainment in Sydney, and just taking baby steps towards that at the moment. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow. Wow. Well, before doing the dance business, I knew you as a videographer, and you're now a
Mm,
businessman, the owner and founder of the famous I My Dance, which is starting to grow up as an entertainment in
hmm
Sydney, Australia. But can you break down a little bit of your life journey on how you got to be who you are today?
Um, I think the opportunity um, kind of grew naturally over time. Like it was more like I think the basic principle of the way this whole opportunity came about was basically I just lean in towards what I enjoy doing, right? And then the more I spent time in what I enjoy doing, the more great people I met, the more opportunities came, and finances followed, people followed, opportunities followed, and then basically it kind of I ended up where I am here today. So that was that has been kind of my principle. I say it with caution though, because I'm not here to be like, oh yeah, you can go follow your, drop everything and do what you love or anything like that. Um,
Mm.
but for me, it kind of worked out with a lot of ways. Obviously, I had to stay disciplined to the course as well, and yeah, basically, what felt like me dancing on a stage just for the fun of it, that felt like yesterday. But here I am, like, trying to do my entertainment and help other artists kind of get on stages as well. So yeah,
Wow.
time
Like
flies.
as you've mentioned, like you like before doing everything, you started
Mm,
with dance. Like you yourself wanted to be like a K-pop idol. Is that
yeah,
true? And I
100%.
remember you dancing and like you love dancing and you would
Mm,
have like Simon and a few other brothers with you like dancing on stage and stuff. And I think most of us
mm,
Asians we grow up with that dream of wanting to be a K-pop idol. But when did you
mm.
decide to let go of that dream and like why?
Um, I I kind of realized when I think the beginning of university, I think that's when I started to realize, look, this is not working. Um, I would have probably failed about 10 idol auditions, like K-pop auditions, by this time. Uh, it's definitely not 50 though. It's not like, oh, I've done so much and I did my absolute best. I think I kind of gave it a shot, um, and a shot that I was kind of satisfied with. And then I kind of realized, hey, look, it was kind of enough information that this is probably not the path for me. Um, But then what I earned out of that experience was like, look, I love dance. Like, hey, singing might not be for me. Uh, they might not like, my looks or whatever it is. But, I love dancing. Like dancing was like something that kind of one of those skills that kind of carried out through that whole process. And I just kept doing that, like kept, taking opportunities to dance. Um, like fun fact is you mentioned Simon as well. Like I was dancing with Simon back in like E10, like E9, E10, back in like that
Wow.
was like 2000, 2007 or something like that. So we were
Oh.
dancing and then we would go on this huge break. He would have his like K-pop like audition phase. I would have my K-pop audition phase and we wouldn't be talking throughout that period. And then basically after that, we'll touch base like 3 years later again and be like, hey, like, oh, there's this opportunity. Do you wanna, dance on stage? I'm like, hell yeah, why not, right? So, um, yeah, there was a it kind of the easy answer is like you kind of realize gradually over time. It's not like one instance that helps you realize, oh, look, this is not the pathway for me. Like there's these triggers that continue to go off, and like that goes off, kind of creates a domino effect. So uh, you kind of realize, okay, singing I don't enjoy as much. Auditions are rejecting me. I'm currently located in Sydney, and not Korea, and then eventually gradually that just becomes into more like, okay, so what do I do now with my life, right? So
Mm.
that's how it basically flowed.
Wow.
Mm,
Wow. But then if like you dancing on stage, I'm pretty sure you like that attention. You kind of
mm,
once may have the thought of what if I am the star? I want to be the star, right?
mm,
But now you're a person who's behind the scenes and not the scene. And especially being married with like Sarah as well. Sarah is more of the dancer, and you kind of help her behind the scenes to be noticed as a dancer. And you're a person in the business side doing all the business work. But I think
mm,
every now and then there might be a phase where it's like, what if I was a star? Or why not? Like you like where was that me part and what
mm.
happened to oh it's okay if I'm not the star as long as I'm helping others, I guess. But
mm,
when did
mm,
that transition of it's okay if it's not me, I'm not the star, I'm just helping others become the star. But how did
mm.
that kind of change for you?
Yeah, so that's a great question, by the way, because that's something that um, basically, I wouldn't say struggled, but it's something that I had to fight as well. Like, so
Mm.
interestingly, like your body gets comfortable doing one thing, right? And then it's comfortable like kind of outputting certain emotions for certain environments. And
Mm.
when that changes, you don't like it, right? And my body was quite comfortable in enjoying the spotlight, like coming out on stage, right? People
Oh yeah.
cheering, and then you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's the main one of the main reasons why I started dance. Like to be frank, like it's to impress people, like make because it's cool, right? I want to
Mm.
impress people and like jump in circles and like be able to like wow them. And I guess it could be a reason why a lot of people start dance in the beginning. Once again, these triggers kind of started to go off, and once I met Sarah, um, if I'm able to walk you through that process, you'll kind of realize that it's a no-brainer. Because if you really, really appreciate dance and if you love dance, you're able to serve it beyond yourself. Does that kind of make
Oof.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like if you understand that dance is really, really important and you've been watching it and seeing it and really honoring it and everything like that, then when you see like someone that's really talented, then you're, I guess, you kind of adjust to a different position and be like, okay, how
Mm.
do I involve myself with that more and more, right?
Wow.
So Simon's a perfect example as well. Simon was an awesome dancer. He was one of those dancers that I looked up to back when I was young, and that's how I positioned myself in that season to be dancing next to him. Like if you see, he was always in the center. I was still
Wow.
having the spotlight, but I was on like the right hand side, right?
Mm.
Um, when I met Sarah, it totally shifted once again. So in the beginning, of course, I was like, we started out at both as dancers, and I was supporting her. She was choreographing and everything like that. But her charisma, her leadership, and her strength in dance was just beyond. Like the moment I met her, it was just like I've never seen anyone in Sydney like this, right? Like hands
Mm.
down, like the first thing that's going through my mind is how does how does no one know about you, right? Like,
Mm.
how did I only
Wow.
find out about you being there, right? So it kind of created an urgency to really bring that to the public a little bit more, to get
Mm.
that in front of the eyes of people. And that urgency kind of started to overtake my own ambition of trying to be in the spotlight. And
Wow.
then I guess like that kind of happened eventually over time. So gradually that kind of grew, but I want to kind of lean into the struggle because even though that all that happened, like I think in the first like 6 months, it's a fight. It's a consistent battle
Mm.
because you're serving it, and then you're like doing the video. You're now doing video editing. You're now like doing more on the business side, and you're like supporting the spotlight. And
Mm.
then there's like a real like FOMO about it. Like, oh my goodness, like kind of want to be there. I kind
Yeah,
of want
yeah.
to, you know, I used
Oh
to
yeah.
I used to do that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was obviously there, but then it's just natural when there is a big transition happening. It's always going to be there's going to be something uncomfortable, and every time that kind of occurred, I would focus on what was more important then and there, like me serving dance and really helping Sarah get herself out there, helping other
Mm.
dancers that are way better than me get themselves out there. And
Wow.
then that's how like my position kind of grew naturally. Yeah, it's a bit
Wow.
of a long answer.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
that's like thank you for so like thoroughly going through it with me and like for whoever's listening. I think that's really, really precious. And I can
Yeah.
so relate because I think there are a lot of similarities between you and me as well. But when
mm,
it comes to the struggles of having to let go of, it doesn't have to be me, I think
mm,
that's so humble. And maybe because
yeah,
of that, like being able to let go of that ambition, maybe that ambition grew to be a passion of where you are today. And especially being an
mm-hmm,
entrepreneur and especially being a leader as a businessman, I think you have that position because you were able to let go of, it's not always about me as a star. And because of that
mm,
humbleness and because of being able to see a wider perspective, because I think when you're on the spotlight, you tend to see only you yourself, and you know
mm-hmm,
how to look good, and you keep on growing to adjust in how I can look good rather than how can I
mm,
serve others. And because of you, I think definitely the scene in Sydney, the dancing scene in Sydney definitely grew so much, which I think a lot of dancers, a lot of creatives should be grateful of, that there is a person like you in the industry behind the scenes constantly growing and constantly really hustling for this whole industry to grow. So
mm.
like that's amazing. 진짜.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Wow.
And just to go off, like, what you said as well, like, there's, it's just because you're serving other people does not really mean that you don't get that spotlight or you don't get the recognition. I feel like, you know, um, in the in the bigger scheme of things, like there is so much joy and reward that you earn by like being able to serve others.
Mm,
Um, you get kind of lost in the act of serving others, and that's a like I feel like it's powerful, like it in the bigger scheme of things. So yeah, 100% I agree with basically what you're saying.
oh yeah. I think the reward comes bigger than I don't know, like being rewarded.
Mm,
I don't know, when you're on stage or when you're spotlighted, I feel like you yourself is the reward. But when you serve others, you receive the reward. And it's not, oh,
mm,
I served you, so give me something. Like you serving itself comes back as a reward, and you gain so much when you serve, I think.
yeah.
Ah, but yeah, wow. Wow, serving. Oof. Whoosh. Okay, I'm not gonna go into
Yeah,
a different
because you,
tangent.
you you're I feel like you understand quite well as well because you've been in a similar situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I'm still struggling with that as well. And it's not,
Mm,
I don't know, like maybe you, because you're in the industry, like you're not dancer. Well, you're still dancing, but you're not dancer mode. You're more of the business side, businessman inside of the dancing scene, right? But I think
mm,
for me, it's always changing, like dance industry, then music industry, and now it's like whole different computer industry, but it's always different. Like letting go of it is always the same, but because it's in the different industry, I think I'm still struggling of, God, what do you want me to do? Like
mm,
I don't feel like I should be in the spotlight, but because it's a
yeah.
different industry, it's like, oh, maybe I can be the spotlight. And the next minute it's like, no, 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 no. And then every now and then it's still a constant battle between myself and I, where it's like, peace, you're not the star, let go, like let others shine, help them. But then every now and
Mm,
then when you help others, it's like, God, what about me? And then I think it's that constant battle.
yeah, and it's definitely difficult. Like when you said letting go, I think that's basically like the hard part as well sometimes, like letting go of something that you've been doing for so long
Mm,
and basically being like, okay, that's in the past now. I'm going to kind of move on to the new one. You just kind of want to do everything, right? You want to do everything. You
yeah.
want to do this, you want to do that. That's also cool. That's also cool. But yeah, this season basically is like really helping me to understand that, you know, I can't do everything. Like
Yeah.
my energy is limited and there's only so many things that I can do. But yeah, glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm,
Yeah. I think you are one of the kindest, loving
mm.
person, boss, friend I know. And I
Oh, you're
think
too nice.
I know. But like most of all the bosses that I've met so far are either really rude or either they keep
Yeah.
their distance with their employers. But how do you run your business as a friend, boss, partner kind of relationship rather than a 직장 상사, like a boss to employer kind of relationship? Because like I feel like there would be a lot of difficulties and challenges to be the boss, friend, partner, hyung, brother at the same time. But how do
Mm.
you maintain and balance that relationship?
Um, First of all, I probably want to, set the expectation that like, that doesn't happen for every single relationship that you have in the
Mm.
company, right? Um, I'm not gonna say I'm really close, and then this podcast goes out, and then one of my staff is like, really doesn't do that at all. He bosses me around all the time. No, but I think the culture that we try to bring in is definitely like um we try to keep it like a young vibe. And I don't mean young as in like age young. Like we've had people of age come like work in our company as well. But I feel like it's more like that startup kind of culture. And I give I give some like sometimes I give the example of like Itaewon Class, right? Have you
Mm.
seen that K
Oh,
drama?
so good.
Oh, I
So
love that drama.
good.
So I don't really watch K dramas, but I remember episode 9. I was like, Sarah, you gotta quit. She's like basically glued to the screen every single day. I'm like, Sarah, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. And
Uh,
then there's like episode 8 and then episode 9. I'm like, you gotta stop, right? You gotta stop watching this. And then I kind of looked over the couch and I started to see what was happening with the episode 9. And that's when a lot of like the business stuff was coming out. And then
mm,
I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. They're really using like real life concepts in this in this production, and the things that I could learn, right? And then like episode 10, like I'm kind of like in the back behind the sofa just like watching. Episode 11, I'm sitting down next to her like eating chips and like actually watching the whole thing.
ah, oh my
and then
gosh.
and then I watched till the end. And basically, when when she's sleeping, I went back to episode 1 and then watched through the whole thing.
Oh
So
my gosh, that's so funny.
yeah, but that kind of culture, if people can relate and have seen that, that's the kind of culture that I intentionally try to create in the studio. And it doesn't always happen that way. Like, you know, it's 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 not always easy trying to lead like a team of like 15, 20 individuals that are all different, all coming from
Mm,
different places, all want to do their individual things. But I
yeah.
guess it's like a long-term process, right? You got to continue, um, staying consistent, being present, and continuing to keep. Uh, I think communication is really important. Like
Mm,
communication, I'm realizing more and more is
oh
something
yeah.
that I continually have to improve on as well. And yeah, communication. Like as long as there's great communication in a team, I feel like um, you can create good culture, and then ultimately you can have a good company.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so
Mm.
cool.
Did that answer your
It's
question, by the way? I kind of
yeah.
forgot what your question was throughout.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was
Yeah,
just
kind of.
thinking like how I don't know, like, cause I've never been a CEO or like the boss. Like the only boss kind of position I was given was like leading my church cell group, or
Yeah.
like the whole like church community. But I don't know, when it comes to leadership for me and authority, I feel like I do sometimes boss people around because there's certain things that only I can see, where other
Mm,
people's perspectives are more shallow. But because you see the bigger picture and they don't get it, it's like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And the next minute you're bossing people around. But at the same time, you don't want to boss them, but you want to be a friend to them. But being a leader sometimes do require you to kind of be on, not on top, but then kind of, you know what I mean? Like lead people towards
mm,
them, but I don't want to boss them around. But is there a
yeah.
specific, I don't know, like a tip or a treat or a recipe or maybe an ingredient that you have for yourself where you don't boss people around? Or
Mm.
like, I don't know, like, is there anything that you do as a tip? Or, yeah.
So I think naturally when you kind of categorize it as bossing people, then um, it becomes something quite, there's quite negative connotations to it, right? Like it's
Mm,
like, they don't enjoy it, they're being forced to do it. And you're showing like your authority towards them, like you're
yeah.
basically like, you're at a higher level and you're kind of telling them what to do.
Mm,
The way I like to think about a true boss, like in this day and age, is like a servant leader, basically. So, um, basically taking the mentality of like, not not I'm the boss and I tell you guys what to do. It's more
mm,
like, okay, I'm here to facilitate and provide anything so that you're able to use your best God-given skills, right? So what can I do to kind of help you? That's kind of the mentality that I take.
oh,
And sometimes, I guess the closest form for me when I feel like I might be like bossing a little bit is like when there's a bit of tough love. So sometimes, they don't understand what needs to be done. Sometimes they don't see it, right? That's 100% true as well. And sometimes, there's some elements in terms of work where, they're not performing as best as they could. And they just need someone to really like push them a little bit more, like motivate them a little bit more. Like we
yeah.
know from like dance, right? Like if you're making a mistake in a performance every single time and
Mm,
someone's not like, drilling that for you, then you're going to continue making it. Well, that's my story, right? Someone
yeah.
has to basically be like, hey, look, you're making a mistake. Like you got to fix that part, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that's where I feel like maybe part partially that bossiness can come, but it's
Mm,
more a form of like tough love, like being firm and helping them understand what could be done better. But the interesting thing is I also expect that from them as well. Like to be honest, I'm I want my employees to call me up, right? I want my employees to tell me that you're slow. Like you haven't been able to pick up the phone for like a whole day, and everything's getting delayed. So it's that area is still work in progress, but I want to create like an environment where we can all get vulnerable and like even me, I can get called out, and Sarah calls me out for things that I like I make a mistake for all the time. So it's good kind of having that. But
wow.
yeah, that's basically the way, that's kind of like my mindset to all of this. It wouldn't be, I don't feel like it was like a practical tip, but it will be kind of the way I think about things. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you always acceptable when people were cynical to you?
Um I wouldn't say so. I think my instant reaction probably wasn't the way it is right now. But I think over time, you kind of realize that there is no point, you know, really wasting your energy on people that, don't, don't believe in what you're believing in, basically, right?
Mm,
And back in the past, there would be a lot of, um, a lot of areas where like I would kind of like let my energy kind of out and not really be able to monitor it. But
mm,
these days I'm more like, I'm quite conscious of where I'm spending my energy. And yeah, I see, uh yeah, I just basically try to yeah, keep a tab on that, if that makes sense.
wow. Yeah. I think that's
Mm,
that's the most difficult part, being acceptable or wait, being able to accept what people kind of says,
mm,
because they're giving their honest feedbacks or their honesty to you and being vulnerable to you. But I think a
mm,
lot of times for me as well, when people kind of gives me feedback and be like, oh, I think you can improve this, or I don't like this, but when they say that, it's for your greater good, but I still tend to be like, thank you, and then I come home and be like, ah, 왜 그랬을까, and then I kind of self-doubt myself, and then every now and then it's like, if that person kind of says it in a harsh way, then I'd be like, oh, why did that person have to say it that way? 막 좀 밉게 보이는? But
yeah.
in the back of my head, it's like, I don't want to do that. And I want to accept it as it is because it's for my growth. But of
Mm,
course, it takes practice to accept it and be peaceful with it. but 그게 진짜 어려운 것 같은 거?
mm, mm. And I think it's very important to um have people like that around as well. Because
음,
basically, if you don't have people giving you feedback and being brutally honest, like, no one's really perfect, right? And obviously, you have to protect where that information is. So you got to evaluate who and where that information is coming from, right?
음,
And that's something very important. So what I meant previously is like if um, someone that you shouldn't really be listening to is giving you comments that you can't really take in, you don't want to waste too much energy on that. But
음,
there are people that you want to keep around that is basically very blunt and very forward with the way they talk to you and everything like that. And they're being honest and giving their honest feedback. Those people are, I feel like they're very valuable.
음. That's facts. Wow.
Mm,
Wow. I want to talk a little bit about leadership with you,
mhm,
especially being the owner of a well-known IMI Dance. It's a company, and being a well-known person inside of the industry. I think opening
mhm.
up as a Christian would have had some impact on you and your business. And now you're like publicly saying, "I'm a Christian." What made you want to be public about it, and why?
Oof, I've never talked about this like in public, nor I don't think I talk about it a lot like in my company as well. Like, um, so the question is why, right?
Yeah,
Uh, why did I open up about it?
yeah. Because like
Okay.
before knowing you, I guess because I knew that you were always a pastor's kid and like you were a Christian, but I don't think you would publicly announce, I'm a Christian or I'm a Christian entrepreneur. But now when I see you, you carry the weight and of being a Christian and you proudly say, I'm a Christian entrepreneur. But what made you want to publicly announce and be comfortable, be vulnerable about saying, I'm a Christian entrepreneur? So what?
Mm. Um, the easy answer is it basically changed my life. Like, meeting Christ, being reborn in Christ. This is more like Christian terminology, but being reborn in Christ in March 2020, like since that's last year lockdown, right?
Wow. Mm,
It's quite recent actually. And I've been walking this Christian journey, but basically, my heart was like all over the place. Like I wasn't acceptive of it. Like I wasn't, really wanting to take this in. And that's the way it's been for a very long time. And then
mm,
everything turned basically 180 degrees last year, like March
mm,
2020. So since then, I've done this activity with Sarah as well. Like we quite often sit down because we have nothing else better to do, and then we start talking about like what's the most, what are our values and what's most important in our lives, and we would eliminate like some things that we feel like aren't as important. And for me personally, like that's basically the top three became my faith, number one, me being like a husband, like family, number two, and then obviously, this whole business and all these relationships that I have through the business and like the people that I'm supposed to lead, that would be number three, right? So um, it kind of came down to that, and there's nothing that will kind of take me back to where I was before, right? That's like the
mm,
easy answer. Like the change happened, and um, I can only express like 1% with words right now how much of a dramatic impact it had on my life when I met God. But ultimately now I feel like I have like a really close relationship with him, and
mm,
every single decision, every single conversation, I'm just leaning into, basically I'm asking him, like he's like my CEO and I'm like the operations manager basically. So I'm
wow, wow.
operating what he wants me to do, and naturally that gives that kind of helps me let go of a lot of anxiety, a lot of like
Mm,
worry about where this is all going to go and whatnot. I just learned to kind of trust him with it, and yeah, just walk with Sarah through this journey. So yeah, there's
Wow.
no going back, basically.
Wow.
Mm,
Wow. Wow.
yeah,
Wow. So would you say I think a lot of PKs, like I'm a pastor's kid, you're a pastor's kid as well. And I think all the
yeah.
PK we have our special stories. But growing up as a PK, like, because I think a lot of people know that typical PKs are either really rebellious kids and then they meet God, or either they're really, I don't know, like kind, I don't know, but like opposite of being rebellious. What would you
No,
say you
isn't
were?
it always like they're rebellious as like they're like super rebellious, or they're like a pastor or something, right?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
It's usually like that. Like they're like super like involved in the church, like a pastor or just whatever it is, and then
Oh
they're
yeah.
like, yeah. Um, I could see, I could see, I guess I could see why. Like I think I've been on like being close to both ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
At this stage in my life. And yeah, wait, what was the question again? So
Okay, so were you always involved inside of church growing up? Like,
yeah, I was all the time. Yeah, since
mm,
young. Yeah.
oh,
Like I was already involved. Like I fell in love with drumming through church, right? I was
facts,
like,
yeah.
I used to like admire
Damn.
people like drumming on the church and everything like that. And then I got into drums. I was serving back in a church, like a big Korean church before,
Mm,
playing in the praise team. And then
wow.
my dad kind of like became a pastor, went into the church, and then basically started serving in there. And like, we have a lot of similarities in that area, just like doing PowerPoint, doing translation, doing music,
So
setting
true.
up the chairs.
Leading up the whole
That's how people.
church, contacting
Yeah,
everyone to come to church, buying
yeah,
food for the
exactly.
younger kids.
Yeah, and like keeping the kids, looking after the kids,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and all that. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. But like now that you're in your 20s and you're no longer like that rebellious kid when you were back in those days, but I
Mm,
think because of the fact that we had that experience of being part of the world, being able to experience how this world likes to play and likes to follow the trend and all, I don't think you nor me kind of is involved in what the world wants us to do, but rather
mm,
we're kind of resisting the whole, not, I don't know, like what the world feeds us is what I
mm,
think. But how do
yeah.
you balance your life to not convey to the worldly patterns, but still be up to date and not lag behind the world?
Simply put, like I pray as much as I can, right? There
Mm,
is, um, as humans, no matter how much we've changed or how great of an experience we've had with God, like it's always, sometimes keeping consistent is harder than the beginning. It's like almost like um your relationship with the gym, right? You get super motivated in the beginning when you go here every single day, and it kind of fades out. It's like I applaud people that are kind of more consistent, then kind of have this spark of motivation and kind of do that for a short period of time. But
yeah.
I guess kind of putting in systems into your life where you're able to continue interacting with him, like, and prayer is like just a powerful way to interact with him. Of course, reading the word and understanding that, the more I read, the more I learn, like, know, the more I read, the more I feel like I need to learn about it, right?
Mm,
And I know you can probably agree with me in regards to
oh
that.
yeah.
And there's so many different angles where kind of God speaks to you through the Bible. And then yeah, like surrounding, the third one that I'm feeling a lot more is like surrounding yourself with people that are also of faith. Like
Mm,
also, there's a lot of creatives that have the value of faith, and
Mm,
keeping a network of that is always going to keep you, I guess, accountable in the journey,
mm,
and basically remind you not to fall back in the worldly patterns and whatnot. And yeah, like uh, I do kind of want to make it relatable for a lot of people, like even if it's like a non-Christian watching. I guess it's not like that we try to categorize like a Christian and non-Christian. We should hang out with a Christian and whatnot. Um, but it's more like the experience that I've had personally myself, and um, being able to speak that out more with people that have kind of felt something similar is going to encourage you to continue thinking in that kind of way, right? So
oh yeah,
yeah, that would be the third point, like kind of surrounding yourself with more people of faith and helping them kind of keep accountable of you would be
yeah.
something quite important.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so true. Um, like you mentioned, not just Christianity and not just faith and not just relationship with God, but relating with that as well. You have so many things happening at the same time, running a business, having to go to do uni work. To be honest, relationship with God takes requires a lot of time and effort as well. You're a married
Mm.
husband as well. How do you stay focused on what you do when you have so many things to do?
It's still difficult. It's like it's an ongoing process. It's
Mm,
not something where I have it covered, right? I continually ask God for guidance to allow me to continue juggling more and more things.
mm,
Um, and I know that a couple steps down, like if we go a couple months down, um, for instance, I might, be in a position where I have a kid, right? And then what might happen then is like my responsibilities basically, are added now, and then I've got more to work with. Um,
mm.
but like because we're on the topic of faith, like I pray for things like one at a time. Like I kind of take things and break it down and focus on it one step at a time and try to not cause paralysis, like overwhelm myself and try to cause paralysis, and then you just get nothing done. And
Mm,
that's coming from experience. Like there's so many times I would basically try to take on everything at once,
yep,
think that I'm able and capable, and just basically get paralyzed and get nothing done. Like, right?
yep,
You know, you know, you're
yep.
nodding because yeah. Um, but yeah, so taking um one step one step at a time. That's more the practical way of how I think about it. But really praying about each of those things, and letting God kind of figure it out, and then move on to the next and move on to the next. Like that's been quite helpful for me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think definitely I can relate with that as well because having
Mm,
to juggle so many things at once, I don't know why, but maybe it's a gifted talent from God to us where we're okay to do multitasking or handle a lot of things all at once. But
mm,
definitely for sure, I still struggle with like if there's a project, like there's a music project, there's a dance project, there's uni work, and there's church. I think 하나만 태클하는 것도 겁나 어려운데
mhm,
I don't know, with time and effort as well, you have to calculate everything. And with the given time, you have to finish everything in a certain amount of time. But how do you know when to stop and when to kind of let go of the things? Because you can't be perfect with everything. And there's a certain amount with how much time and how much effort you can put it into. And definitely for sure, you trust in God to help you with it. And if you can't do everything on your own, you definitely need to let God in and trust Him to do the work with you. But
mm.
how, like, would you say that you would work on one thing and finalize that first and then go to the second one? Or would you kind of like open up the tabs and then do certain amount? And then if you lose focus, you go on to the next one and then the next one? Or, yeah.
Okay, so currently the way that I am is like just using that example of tabs. Like all my tabs are open. right? All my tabs are open, um, but I'm clicking into one tab at a time, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
probably coming back. So I'm working on one thing at a time, but my tabs are open. So I'm an entrepreneur on one side. I'm also a husband on another side, right? And they're very different priorities, right? They're
Oh
basically, I feel like they're opposite. Yeah, they're opposite in a
yeah.
lot of ways.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm 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 fortunate enough to be able to have some overlap in between them because
Mm.
we run it together. Um, but yeah, I'm an entrepreneur on one side. I'm, like a brother. Like I'm a brother to my sisters when I'm at home, and to
Mm.
my friends, I'm this dopey, like clumsy guy that they make fun of. So like basically, um, my tabs are open, but I just try to focus on one thing at a time. And
Mm.
I think the biggest realization that I've been having is many times I'm thinking that I have to close all the tabs and just focus on one, right? And more time is spent thinking about that rather than actually spending time on the tab itself. So I'm
Ah.
thinking I'm trying to like organize all of this, and I don't know which one to prioritize and what to do, and and then you kind of get so trapped in that thought that you're not actually moving forward with a lot of the things, and you're thinking about different things.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So for me, it's more like really once again just leaving all that to kind of God and being like, look, this is you've kind of put me in this position in all these tabs for a certain reason. You place them there,
Mm.
and when you take them away from me, you're going to take them away at the perfect timing. When you
Mm.
open six up or seven up at a time, they're there for a specific purpose, and
Yep.
I just need to find a best way to like really steward that. And
Yeah.
I guess that's where I'm just like, look, I focus on one thing at a time. Like you kind of look at it as a day, right? Like
Mm.
your schedule is a reflection of basically your life, right? And
Yeah.
if you're able to categorize, for instance, okay, this is my unit, like you and me can both relate. Like this is when we're going to study, right? Here we're a student, right? We can't be thinking about music, or we can't be thinking
Mm-mm.
about like, playing with like friends. So that's when I study. This is when I'm like, building my business. This is when I'm, really a friend. And yeah, just really trying to enjoy that process is like more of where I'm trying to put my energy, because ultimately we stress about that because we love doing all of that.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's important that like, we continue to love it and cherish it, and like really think of it as a gift from God to be able to do all these things, rather than,
Mm.
you know, take it in the other way and be like anxious about, oh my god, goodness, like how am I going to organize all of this and stuff like that.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah,
That's so true.
I'm
I
glad.
think.
Like, yeah, I feel like we can relate. Like this is what I said last time to you over this call as well. Like, um, maybe it could be just me thinking about this, but like, there's a lot of similarities between not just the activities that we do, but like the
Mm.
passion that we have, and like
Mm.
the upbringing as well, like both being PKs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So like your nod, your nods when I'm speaking, like hit different. Like other people's nods, I'm like, yeah, yeah, okay. But like your nods are like, yeah, yeah, I
Oh
feel it.
yeah.
And that
Oh
just
my
kind of
gosh.
encourages me to be like, I need to talk more and I need to share more. And
Oh
this is why
yeah.
this is perfect for you. This is
Oh
perfect for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so true. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like when I talk with you, I don't know, I feel like I'm talking to myself or like a bigger
Mm.
self or like a future me, and I gained so much insight and like I don't know if you can see me, but I've been smiling the whole time because I'm so happy. Like I don't know what to do. Like this joy that's overfilling me is just like I'm really grateful. Like I feel that we have a lot of similarities as well. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that I'm really, really grateful of. Because growing up, I don't think I've ever met someone who is similar with me. And I was always like complaining to God where it's like, God, why is there no one who I could talk with who can relate with me? But really being gifted with, like, being blessed with a person whom I can talk with, who can really relate with me, and really just being able to talk like this, like, oh, I'm so grateful. Like, for
Yeah.
real. Wow.
It's crazy how it happened because literally um, after that, I guess, rebirth that I had in Christ, like
Mm,
in 2020, like since then, like that's after that I met you, right? And then I really got closer with like John and all the AO1 team there.
oh
And
yeah.
it's not like we went out and like started looking for more, Christian people of faith that we can kind of share our stories with, but
Mm,
they started to grow a little bit more naturally. And
yeah.
I really feel like the relationship that we have is like 100% like a gift from God.
Mm.
And oh yeah, and I was actually so Peace is like super nice. She's like one of the nicest people that I've met. Um,
What?
and when you were kind of saying uh what was it saying when you were talking about the PK thing, right? It got me thinking. I'm just like, okay, so we got, PKs are either going to be on either spectrum, right? Like they're either going to have a rebellious stage or a
Oh
really,
yeah.
really good stage. So I'm like, okay, then like Peace must have had like a really rebellious stage in her life, right? But
What do you
you see
mean?
Peace, you see Peace, and like you can't really imagine that from someone like her at the moment.
Wow.
Um, and that kind of
Mm.
reminded me. Did you have something like that, like a phase like that?
What do you
Um,
mean? I grew up to be nice. I live by my name.
we'll see. We'll have to dig into the history
Uh,
here a little bit. Yeah,
oh yeah, oh yeah. Maybe there might be an episode of Get to Know Peace, but
yeah. Call some contacts in Korea. Maybe call like May J or something like that. May J from 1 million. So she's
Ooh.
friends with May J from 1 million, or
Ooh.
lots of different dancers in Korea. Yeah,
흑역사, man. What's 흑역사 in English? What, Black History?
like history. Hey, you are like you had a fantastic history with dance. To be honest, like you should be proud of that
History. Like, I am.
history of
I'm
dance.
glad that I was able to step my foot inside of the industry and be able to indulge for a little bit at least. Like, ever
Yeah.
since not being able to dance, I kind of like cursed God. Not cursed, but I really did have my moment with God where it's like, God, why? Why are you taking away the most precious thing in my life? But
Mm,
now I'm okay with it, but really, like you said, because I love dance so much, it's I'm still honored that I can still be inside of the industry in and out, be able to
mm,
understand what dancers go through, and not just as a dancer, but just as a creative, being able to kind of, I don't know, sit down and be able to really understand what they're going through. I think,
mm.
yeah, yeah, we'll see what God has for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Mm,
everything that you've experienced in terms of like, because you shared that you bounced from industry to industry, right?
mm,
And if if anything, like, um, it's been I assume that it would have been a very confusing time, like throughout that whole process. And
mm.
even for me, I've done that as well. I've been working like real estate, and then like I couldn't even understand if my life was, even throughout the business, whether I'm supposed to be doing the business or if I'm able to kind of go in corporate as well. Because there was a whole
Mm,
phase where I'm just like, well, I kind of want to do real estate as well and whatnot. But it's really cool to see how God is using all of that, like like everything
yeah,
that you've kind of gone through, music, dance,
yeah,
your church leadership, and it's all kind of coming together. And
oh yeah.
I'm curious to see how he's going to use your coding skills.
Amen. Yeah, that's so true. Oh,
Yeah,
now that it's in break time, it's like I totally forgot that I am studying code. Ah,
yeah.
but yeah, code. Oof.
Peace made a Pokemon. This is for all you guys listening. So Peace made a Pokemon, like some type of prototype game, in her first year. Sooner or later, she's gonna be making 3D Pokemon, like real life.
Ooh,
Ooh,
damn, 40,
damn.
50, 60, man. That, ooh, Yeah, but I'm really interesting to see what God has planned for me with programming. Like, because I always thought that I would always be a creative, like, I don't know, dancer, musician, or whatever it is, just on stage or just something relating with creativity. But after stepping my foot inside of programming, I was never the math science person. My
Mm,
brain is not fit for that, but I understood the beauty of numbers, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and yeah, when people says math is like communication skills, right? I never understood how math is like, because like the overview, unit overview says you gain communication skills and develop some like, and I was like, what do you mean they're numbers? Why do you gain communication skills? But next minute
Yeah.
I understand why math is communication and why
Mm,
communication is so important. And then
mm,
breaking down the codings and whilst talking to the tutors, you have to give instructions of each line of what number, what symbol is why, and why it's there, what job it does. But breaking those down, it's like you gain such, I don't know how to say it, but thorough ability, communication skills, if that makes sense.
mm,
But
yeah.
yeah.
The way you say it makes me kind of like want to study it suddenly. It's like, oh yeah, math and like all these things. Like I love it because I used to love math, right, back in high
Ah,
school. And then coding is just it's such a valuable skill. Like there
it
is
is
no
that.
way. Like even if worst case scenario you drop out like next term, right? And like well, obviously touch wood, like wood that doesn't happen. But I feel like even God will even use that, like even that
Mm,
experience. So there's nothing that could basically go wrong in this instance. But like
for
the way
sure.
you just described it was like, man, I wanna like 맛있는 거 얘기하면 뭐 먹고 싶은 것처럼 like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
코딩 재밌겠다 막. It's good. It's good. You're leaning into your destiny. So
Ah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
But
understand it.
for
Yeah,
sure, for sure. Technology is beauty. I think technology itself is creativity as well. And
100%.
especially the era that we live in, we cannot live without technology. And so I think I can do something pretty decent with it if I just learn it well. So God
Mm.
give me patience. But yeah.
I'm gonna take a wild guess. It's gonna be something in the creative, using tech in the creative industry. But we'll see. We'll keep that secret for next time.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe then you can come on my podcast and I will have to ask you questions like,
Yes.
what are you building, please?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Before we go, I guess we've
Mhm.
talked for a fair bit of a time, but I want to ask you a few more questions. Where
Yep.
do you have you ever heard about the word clout?
Cloud. Yeah, it's like hype, right?
Hype.
It's more like, can you define it for me?
So like there like I came across this book called Clout, but she was a Christian
Mm,
writer. Um, But in the Christian term, she defines clout is the God given influence that positions you to lead with passion and purpose that defy your personal limitations.
mm-hmm.
But in the dictionary, in the Urban Dictionary, it just classifies as influence.
Okay. Yeah.
But what do you think your clout is? What is your God given influence? Yeah,
On this planet.
yeah. On this planet Earth.
Hmm. Great question. I think the greatest task for me is we talked about this spectrum, right? That we as pastors kids go through. Oh my goodness, I hate calling myself a pastor's kid. But okay, so we talk about this spectrum, and I've had the history, right? And it could be basically, I could look at it and be like, oh man, that was like the worst part of my life. I don't want to, talk about it. I'm gonna hide it and really not be open about that past, about that this end of the spectrum.
Mm,
But I really feel like God has allowed me to experience all of this so that I can really bring this up to all of here. Does that kind of make sense? So if I kind of explain that, like really using the pains that I've gone through
Yep.
to relate with people in this
Yeah.
day and age, and then serve them to the best way possible. Like that, my dance studio is basically a result of the pain that I felt back when I was growing up. There was no place to learn dance, right? Uh, in fact, there was no place to train my creative um, aspirations at all. Like there was nowhere to do that. And
That's so true.
when I'm able to lean into that, I'm able to understand what people might be looking for today, and I'm able to build that accordingly. I think my faith is the same thing as well. Like uh, there's a lot of people that are struggling emotionally, physically, and have are kind of going through a dark time, and I feel like I'm destined to really serve people like that through faith and through my creative ambition to really get them to ultimately use their gifts so that they can meet God as well. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. I think you
this is
do.
really helping me to like organize my thoughts and try to say it in like one big chunk.
Woo! Is it
Yeah.
pressuring you?
No, not at all. I'm
Okay.
enjoying this a lot.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm enjoying this.
thank
But it's definitely like it works something here. Like I definitely need to do this like 10 times to
Woo!
100 times to be really good at it. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying this process.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. For sure. Like for me as well, like lockdown, ever since lockdown, I think my capacity of thinking has defiled. I don't
Mm,
even know if that makes sense, but my thinking ability has like dropped because I don't
yeah.
think, right? But
What do you do
what
then?
kind
What have you been doing though during the holidays?
um
Looking
I've been
into
keeping
like,
it low. I've been
hey,
making
you've
a
been
lot of
working 100%. Look at you. Like you've got this like you the logos there. You've been doing like the under fourth interview. When are the contents getting released, by the way?
Oh yeah, they're gonna be released next Thursday. So I've been
Next
thinking about
Thursday.
it and I was like, I've made a goal where I want to launch it before my next term starts and everything in the holidays, I want to start it. So I was like, might as
Yeah.
well just let it out and just let's see how it goes. And especially me, because I'm such a perfectionist, I was always like, oh, the logo, I want to have a theme song and always so perfectly like 만들고 하고 싶었는데
Theme song.
I
Yeah.
was like, nah, let's just like take away that perfectionism. It's okay if it's not perfect, just focus on the doing part. And so I'm
Mm.
trying to kind of let go of everything and just let it out. So next Thursday, which is the 9th of September, and I love like doubles like 0909. So yeah.
That's when it's launching.
Oh yeah.
You
We
used to do that. Like even with your single releases and stuff like that, you
oh yeah.
find these dates and times that like are symmetrical or something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And my
it sounded like
first
a music
release
thing.
was the 1111 where it was like November 11th and I was like, "Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, it's so
everyone's done that.
satisfying."
Everyone's done that before. Like one. Yeah,
Ah, that's
a
so
music thing.
true. What kind of like responsibilities and sacrifices like do you have to take as a person who gives influences to many others? Because I think you carry a lot of weight as an influencer, like not those Instagram like influencers, but just as a real human being. You're a leader. You lead a company, and your characteristic itself is a leader. And I think
Mhm.
there are a lot of sacrifices that you have to take just because of the responsibility that you hold. But yeah, do you have any responsibilities that you think, 이것만큼은 내가 지켜야 되는 sacrifice다?
Mm, that's a good question. So what kind of sacrifices do I have to make? Um, can I think about this one for a second?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess the biggest sacrifice that I probably have to make, and the reason why this is taking a while to actually answer is because um, I've been truly blessed. Not, God has actually positioned it. Like I don't really think of it as me making a sacrifice, right? It's just He's allowed me to really enjoy and have the things that I like. Really feel gratitude towards the things that I have. So, um, but in hindsight, like when I see everything in my life, like I think the greatest sacrifices is I guess the joy that the world brings, the things of this world, like those are the biggest sacrifices. So
Mm.
um like money, right? Like treasures, trophies, um, I guess even people, like people to a certain extent, right? You
Mm.
can't get too attached to anything on this world. Like your ultimate purpose is to serve God and to share the gospel and to believe that God is the salvation. God died for us on the cross,
Mm.
and that kind of like um, I guess teaching allows you to, I guess, free yourself up from a lot of what the world thinks is important, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the biggest sacrifices that I've had to make are probably things of that sort. But the reason why I don't really feel that it was too hard is because I just feel the joy of the of the other, right? Like
yeah.
I really feel the joy of being, present in God. And I know this is getting like mad spiritual and whatnot. Um, but yeah, that would probably be the biggest sacrifice. Even like I would even say like emotions of this world that is so used to certain types of emotions, like anxiety is a huge one, right? It's
Yeah,
like a very touchy subject. Depression is really big as well.
yeah.
And being able to say, I guess, you know no to those sorts of things, and you know making an intentional decision to seek the solution, which is God, right?
Yeah,
Is probably the biggest reward, but also like a very worldly sacrifice. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Wow. I think that's like an ongoing struggle every single day.
mm,
Having the intentions to cut those thoughts off, especially those
mm,
feelings and that thoughts that just comes naturally to us. Uh,
mm.
but yeah, that's a topic that we can talk about like really deeply next time.
Yeah.
Because oh man, I can go on
It's a
and on
deep
about
one.
those
Like
things.
I've never had someone ask me about that, so I'm just like, yeah, it just kind of got me thinking. But yeah, like, is this like a common question that you ask other people as well? Oh,
Oh,
it's
this
just
is
something that
just for
landed on
you.
me.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I
Yeah.
feel now
like
I feel
I
pressured.
I mean you is like yeah,
Yeah.
cuz I feel like I don't think I can answer this as well because there's so much that we can kind of like jot down, but
Mm,
yet and it's so hard to just openly speak about it because once you speak it you have to keep it, and same
yeah.
goes for me. It's so hard to keep them every single day because I myself is a human and there's so many temptations that this world gives.
Yeah.
uh, and day by day, I think it's getting worse. Like just with media, just with like anything scrollable, anything that's visuable. Like the world feeds us
Mm,
way too much things that we do not need to see. But because of that, I
mm,
think unconsciously we're fed up with that. With that,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, man. Then what kind of impact do you want to leave to the people around you?
Um, I want to, so really going back to the whole clout thing, right? I
Mm,
guess that's the area of impact that I would like to have, right? I want to basically be the vessel that allows from God that allows people to be able to use their creative gifts and really bring up a potential that they probably didn't think that they could ever bring up, right? And use that gift to glorify God. Like that's end of that's basically the simplest way I can put it. So um,
Wow.
Sarah as well, like going back to our relationship, uh, she never saw the talent in herself until I pointed that out, and
Wow.
I provided her, I provided like kind of an environment where she can foster that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then she kind of like, 10x'd her potential, right?
Oh yeah.
So, but that's what I see every single day, right? That's why I do what I do. Like this is exactly why, like people that don't believe in themselves, I try
Mm.
to like bring that belief in them and like motivate them in that kind of way. And then if they're able to 10x that and then serve the people, serve the greater good, right? Then I feel like, look, that's my job done. So that's the kind of impact. So I definitely feel like that I have a heart towards the creative industry, right? And this is why I do this all the time. And every time I get distracted from anything else, like the corporate side or whatnot, um, I bring that back, and then I'm fueling that to kind of build this whole creative industry.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. I think that's so beautiful where you have the corporate side of you and then you have the creative side of you and you can juggle that, like bounce that back around
yeah.
where some,
I
yeah.
have a lot of corporate friends, right?
Mm, mm,
So 80% of my friends are like all from corporate, and then like that's what I kind of like talk about a lot of the time when I'm with them. I'm learning a lot of like how their day to day is and everything like that, and
mm.
yeah, like it interests me a lot, right? And then obviously I take what I can and kind of like try to build my version of a startup corporate in the creative side.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Wow. I think that's the true definition of
definitely.
entrepreneur. Wow. Wow. Well, last but not least, I think there's so many things that, oh man, like 너무 재밌고 I can't even believe that time is flying so fast, but the sun is already
Yeah,
down
I reckon.
and
Oh
there's
wow.
so many things that I want to talk with you more and more, but later down the
Mm,
track, hopefully we can catch up more. But before we leave,
yeah, of course.
is there anything that you'd like to leave behind in the lab before you go?
Um, I think basically because this is like a beginning journey for you, right? And I guess it's more uh, my kind of I wouldn't say wish, but good. Um, I want to kind of send your platform off in the best way possible. And
Wow.
I've really come on here because you're such a good friend, but also like we connect in so many different levels, and I can only start to imagine how much you're going to be able to bring that out of other people that you speak to, right? Other creatives, other people of faith, other people that are making a large, great impact. And I really want to send you off in this kind of way, like really, give you the best blessings possible for this lab
Wow.
and the future of lab. And
Mm.
I want to see it really take off. So like I love like this is like our relationship. Um, this is a form of me seeing you basically push your creative abilities, and this is what I love. So the better you do, the happier that I will get. So yeah, just let me know if there's anything else that I can help with. But look, like the thing that I want to leave is that people see lab right now, like the Zoom lab and the way you've kind of set this up. People are going to see this maybe 1 year down the track when this has all changed, right? And I want to be the one that kind of said, look, this was the beginning, but I knew it was going to serve a huge purpose later on down the track.
Wow.
Now you feel pressured.
Hey, I'm gonna make that
Now you feel
happen.
pressured. No, 100%. I think you
Oh,
will.
wow. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. That's such a big blessing, such a great
Mm,
encouragement. I love those challenges because it stirs my heart up where it's like, I'm gonna show you and like,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Wow.
love
Well,
that.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well,
I enjoyed this. This is like a chat. Like honestly, like I wish it could have been like more asking questions to you as well. But you got me on as a guest, so I understand. I understand the flow of this. Yeah, yeah.
oh,
It
next
was
time
fun. It
do
was
do
fun.
that for me. I love it
Yeah,
because I don't want it to be so formal, but I just want it to be like how we just catch up and just have these normal talks.
yeah,
But oh yeah.
yeah. This is how we basically like. This is how we basically talk, right?
Oh
With
yeah.
the AO1 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you
Oh, thank
you
you.
like going deep. I like going deep.
Oh
So
yeah.
we kind of like we always like just discussing about our next steps in life and
Oh yeah.
what we're thinking about in terms of Christianity and
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you. And I'm gonna have you uh come on next time. This is
Mm,
not a request, this is like a demand. So you're gonna be
okay,
on next time.
sure. I love to.
Um,
I love to.
yes, thank you. Well, that's it for today's lab sesh. Thank you so much, Rue,
Hmm.
for being our special experiment of the day. To all who are
Hmm.
listening to this podcast, thank you for tuning in today. You can find us on Instagram at leaveitallbehind_lab. And you can also find Rue, find IMI Dance, really like find them because they're really, really on fire. So amazing. But make sure you hit that follow button here and there, get updated with more guests that is to come in the lab, and see you all in the next episode. Bye.
What a pro. What a pro.
Oh man.